4 were directly related to museum institution, as shown on the screen. Okay, next. And without doubt, the Cultural Exchange Program has brought numerous cultural benefits to both countries, such as the organization of the Festival of India, which was celebrated in a big scale in Malaysia, the training for students, the establishment of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose Indian Cultural Center, a cultural wing of the High Commission of India to Malaysia. But sadly, next, no cultural exchange program between museums were organized by the two nations, either through the High Commission's ministry or related agencies. Next. So I would like to suggest that both countries must take the opportunity presented by the Cultural Exchange Program 2015-2020 through respective ministries and agencies to plan, implement, and promote museum activities that are consistent, high impact, and mutually beneficial. Activities that could be organized as shown in the screen. Okay. Exchange programs. Okay. I would like to suggest that the National Museum of both countries or significant museums can organize temporary exhibition which can be developed into traveling exhibitions in each country. Therefore, visits and reciprocated visits by officers and experts from both countries can be arranged. Okay, next. Next. Next, please. Also, to implement collections exchange program of loan artifacts to enable the citizens of both countries to appreciate historical and cultural artifacts that bind their nations. Next. And also, we can organize a joint research, next, joint publication programs or publication exchanges. We could also organize exchange programs on skills and knowledge through the exchange of experts or officers in the field of museology, especially in collection management and artifacts conservation. And we could also consistently send officers to conferences or forums on museology that is organized by both countries. Okay, in conclusion, just skip this. Skip this. Okay, next. Okay, in conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, judging by the number of majestic museums in India, by the great collections of exquisite artifacts, and by the number of experts that you have in India, we look India as our big brother who has a lot to offer us. Okay. And having said that, the Malaysian government, through the Department of Museums Malaysia, stands ready to do our part to hold any collaboration with the government of India in any museum activities consistent with the Cultural Exchange Program agreement that has been signed. So we look forward to greater collaboration and cooperation between Malaysia and India to the benefit of our culture. With that, I end my talk with terima kasih and thank you.
Thank you very much, Pak Muhammad Surawali Haji tadi. Now I would like to invite the third speaker, Dr. Yarima Kaushik. She is an assistant professor from School of Buddhist Studies, Comparative Religion and Philosophy, Nalanda University, Rajgir, Bihar, India. Please.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm going to talk about women in monastic Buddhism in South Asia, early South Asia. A brief overview on the studies that have been done so far. When we look at Buddhism in early South Asia, the work on the subject was started. It began in the late 19th century with works of C.F. Davis, Mabel Board, Ivy Honor. Their works form the foundations on which later works were to be followed. The basic approaches to the subject are characterized as the Orientalist and the Protestant Buddhist approaches, and they all, both these approaches kind of have an over-dependence on the study of Pali textual tradition, believing that Pali textual tradition represented Buddhism and all forms of Buddhism in entirety. But then more recent works have focused on different Nikayas and have also largely depended on interpretation of their of the texts of the different schools. The texts which provide the various orthodox doctrinal views on women are inadequate in trying to understand how women themselves received and reacted to such idealized notions of being a woman. And looking at all of this, archaeological inquiry into the subject started very late though, and it was only in the beginning of the 21st century that works on gender and archaeology began, especially in the field of Buddhism. Recent studies in the field, like those of Kirit Shah in epigraphy, Gina Kim, have brought into focus the inadequacy of dealing only with the literary sources. Various conclusions, among the various conclusions, one of the things that the interpretation of literary sources have brought out is that motherhood has been understood to be the most dominant category through which Buddhist female practitioners identified themselves. Through a reading of the textual sources, this was believed. But then through recent archaeological studies, it has been identified that only maybe less than 21% of upasikas and less than even 1% of bhikshunis identified or prefer to identify themselves as mothers in their inscriptional records. So whatever we are getting from the literary reading and interpretation of the literary sources is not quite in conformity with the archaeological sources. Sorry about this. We get various kinds of structures from Buddhist sites which have been known to have associations with women. These can be classified into stupas with ayaka projections. I'll be discussing these structures later. Circular structures, three-room structures, and we also have presence of bhikkhuni viharas or convents for the Buddhist nuns. These have all been identified archaeologically. Now, when we look at now the presence of women in various contexts as lay women, as bhikshunis, is not homogeneous and it varies from site to site. As we can see from this chart, women and upasikas or lay bhikkhunis, lay Buddhist women, preferred different sites. And we have different kind of data coming from the various sites with respect to these women. I had just mentioned some circular structures. Now this is very interesting. The slide on the right is it shows a circular structure which are associated with females. This one is from Andhra Pradesh, a site called Nagarjunkonda. We are getting similar structures from Southeast Asia as well, where gender has not been archaeologically explored so much. This is on the left we have contemporary issues like issues of ordination and revival of nuns' lineages. They have followed largely the methodological approaches that have directed the course of similar studies in South Asia, the focus being primarily on the study of Pali texts and other textual material. Feminist authors have focused on the study of Mahayana Buddhism in Southeast Asia and its implications. Works of Theravada, on the other hand, have been much less and far between, especially in Myanmar and Thailand. So we have a paper today on Myanmar and Theravada. Reasons for the popularity of Theravada among female Buddhists in South Asia has also been studied by people like Karen Dennis and Nandaya Watson. Now we have here an agenda for archaeological research. There are various possibilities since this is one field that has hardly been touched upon. We can look at the various interpretations that have so far come out. One of them being whether motherhood ideal was actually the most popularly ideal for early Buddhist women, which has been contradicted through a reading of archaeological sources, at least in the case of South Asia. What were the various types of structures which were associated with lay women at Buddhist sites in this region? How and where was monastic and lay Buddhist interaction played out? What were the monastic spaces for female renunciants? Bhikkhuni viharas have recently been documented. We have some 15 odd sites where we have Bhikkhuni viharas in India. We need to work on similar lines in South Asia and see if there are any parallels here. Were stupas erected for women? If so, which particular group of women enjoyed this privilege? In northern Thailand especially, there is this belief that women are not supposed to circumambulate around the stupa, as that would mean that they would desacralize the relics which are enshrined within the stupa. So there are these issues of purity and pollution, and if these contemporary notions of purity and pollution have a historical precedent, and do the architectural planning and layout of these structures confirm two similar structures which have recently been identified in South Asia. Contemporary Buddhism, women are half the population. A very contemporary issue in Buddhism today is talking about ordination issues for the nuns. So if going by what we have today, I mean if we have some more archaeological studies on the subject, women have something to fall back on. They have a historical precedent to look into, and it will help them in their struggle for recognition and institutionalization of bhikkhunis. So that is one of the contemporary implications, uses of the study. And I come from Nalanda, where we have lots of students from Southeast Asia, and in Buddhist studies, that's my department, there are lots of students who are very eager to take up projects, work in South Asia. There are students there who can do a lot of work within India as well. But we need to identify and collaborate, with specific institutions, a few institutions where, as has already been suggested, we can have joint collaborative programs, and we can have these student exchanges where we can have faculty exchange, where we can pool in our resources and work jointly. So that is one thing that I would also add on to, like the other speakers in the morning did. So that's all I have. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Garima Kaushik. The last speaker for this session will be Dr. Nilima Chitkopekar. She's an associate professor from Jesus and Mary College, Delhi University in New Delhi. Okay, please, Dr. Nilima.
Thanks, Tina. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. After the nice, wonderful meal, and since we all are waiting for our coffee, I decided to tell you a story. And I hope that you all will wake up, and I won't take too long. I would love your undivided attention. So there were two brothers, Ganesha and Skanda. Both of them had a lot of sibling rivalry. They both loved their parents a lot and both boasted about loving their parents, Shiva and Parvati. So one day, they were both clamoring to get married. And they said, I want to get married first. And Skanda said, I want to get married first. So the parents said, both the mighty god, Shiva and Parvati, they said, well, why don't you have a race? Go all around the world, the two of you. Have a race. And whoever comes first, we'll get that person married. Now, it was important to see the world and to be involved in worldly affairs before you settle down to marriage. So the two of them set off. Like most Hindu gods, both of them also had their own vehicles. Skanda, who was very slim, very trim, very active, had a peacock,